Good morning, Oj. Episode 89. We had a little intro today to our podcast. Somebody the world lost this week. I know somebody that you spent a lot of your childhood and adult life listening to. The passing of the great Bob Uecker.
Yeah, that was a tough one. And it kind of came out of nowhere, really. For those that knew the situation, I guess it didn't. But from what I've read now, it sounds like Ueck was struggling a little bit with he had a small cell lung cancer. I guess it was diagnosed in 2023. And even last year, during a lot of the games into October, he was he was in some pain and struggling a little bit with it. So, but they kept it quiet. I think it was just in the organization. Certain people knew about it, and of course, family and whatnot. But they kept it quiet, probably exactly the way Ueck wanted it. And obviously, he was, health-wise, was really going downhill for him here recently, and then and passed away at 90 years old. So that little play and intro that you had there, that is, I mean, if you want to hear classic Uecker, that comes from his Hall of Fame induction speech, and that's worth listening to and watching on YouTube. It's I've seen it a number of times. I mean, he has the entire the fans, the other Hall of Famers just in tears laughing at him. It was typical Uecker. And for me, the guy was he was summer. Going back to like 1981, I think that was probably the time when I really started locking in the Brewers. I had gone to some games, I think, in 1980, Brewer Tiger games, and that's when I was getting my Cecil Cooper and Robin Neal jerseys, and just in the summer as a kid, we had our AM radio in the summer, and 590 AM out of Ironwood, played the Brewer games. It was always on. And no matter what I was doing outside, that's what was in the background for all those years, and then right up until recently. I mean, it was Sirius XM radio. You're able to get the home games, which he still did a number of them last year, out of maybe 3/4 of the home games, I would say. But he didn't travel the last number of years,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was tough. He, like I said, there's a lot of people. I read different quotes from different sports personalities and players, former players, the Brewers, that they used the lines that he was one of a kind, an original, no one will ever be like Uecker. And then one person mentioned something, and I thought, to me, that's what it was, and they said that he's the best friend that you never knew, and that's just the way it was for him. So
That's a good way to put it.
yeah,
it really is.
When you listen to him that much over the years, that's just the way it was, and he's a hell of a guy.
Yeah, well, again, we're losing yet another icon from our childhood days into adult days, and really, again, the voice of the Brewers. I'll listen to Brewers once in a while when he's on, but not like you did. But the movie, what was it?
Major League.
Major League. He was in, and all the commercials. I must be in the front row. And
the Miller Lite commercials. Yeah.
Taste great, less filling, all that.
And I didn't realize. I knew he was on, but I didn't realize he was on Johnny Carson 100 times.
Yeah, I knew he was on the talk show hosts a lot, and as I went back and looked at some of the stuff, they obviously they're putting out clips of some of the great ones, and you could literally sit all day and listen to his one-liners and his stories, and he just had such an essence of telling a story that kept you engaged and then had you in stitches at the end.
Well, he was so good at calling a game. I mean, some of the best Uecker innings were when they were up or getting blown out, and the game was in the 6th inning, and he'd talk about a fishing trip. And I remember once it was when Zach Greinke was a Brewer, and he was talking about getting Greinke out on his boat fishing in Lake Michigan. So he would sit there and he'd talk. He'd say, so Zach's pole was wobbling. He ran over there. I told him he's got to keep the tip of that pole up and start cranking. And he's keep the tip up. And the 2-2 pitch is followed back, and then he'd go in. And so I had to go down and get the net. I had somebody else, another buddy was driving the boat. Next pitch is followed back. Count remains 2-2, and he would do that for a half an inning, and would throw that in there in the games, and it was just that was vintage Uecker for me.
One of the stories that I was learning about this week was, do you know the story about when there'd be like a new trainee in the box, and there'd be people in the studio or the box with him at the game while he's calling it, and like between pitches he'd hit the mute button, and then he'd do the fake calls where he'd be like making like swearing and say, "Why the heck are you throwing that bleepity bleepy pitch?" And the people that know that the mute button was off.
Bob Costas talked about that. Yeah, it was like
I think he was one.
The choke button or whatever they would say. He hit
Yep.
that, and then he would make some derogatory, joking comments. Yeah, I did hear that.
Did you ever have Bob Uecker seats at Miller Park?
We were for the All-Star game. We were up in seats like that when I went to that the year that the game ended in a tie. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
We were
let's
at-
not
that was-
revisit that. But don't they have the seats? That
Yeah, the statue.
But there's the two pillars right in the lower
Exactly.
bowl, and you can get by the seats for $1, but you can't see the game from behind them. They call them the Euchre seats.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stories, with him from the, his time over the years. Some of his great calls, I was playing those over and over too. So it'll be certainly different, I'd say, this year listening to Brewer games without you.
So again, another icon loss from our childhood. The UP lost, and again, we're talking deaths here, unfortunately, but the UP lost another legendary figure in Nagani coach Dick Koski passed away this week as well. Legendary coach there. And you go back and look at it, and I don't remember the exact year that Dick Koski started coaching in Nagani, but just from whenever he started through Paul Jacobson, I mean, they've had two coaches for about the last 40 years, maybe longer.
Probably longer.
And I know he battled some health issues, but UP lost another good one there.
Well, I know he's my dad's age. They were buddies at Northern, of course, knew each other in high school even, because Dick was a Wakefield grad. But I remember it was a number of years ago, Crouchy and I were down at it was regionals, and I think it was Barrie Event regional time, and we had gone down for these games, and my dad was down there, and we were in, I think, I don't know if it might have been the Congress in Ishpeming.
Okay.
Went for pizza or something, and my dad got a hold of Dick Koski, and he came down. I remember Crouchy kind of chuckling to himself, going, "Wow," he says, "I never thought I'd be sitting down having a beer in a Ishpeming bar with Dick Koski." And so that goes back a number of years too. But yeah, he's certainly a legend, and that's an impressive deal. With you talk Nagani football with two coaches, 40+ years.
And we'll have Coach Jacobson on. We got an interview lined up with him coming up down the line, so obviously that'll be a topic we come up. But again, let's shift gears from the passing of some legends to let's talk about a little college football. Oj, we got the championship game Monday night, not last Monday night like you and I alluded to. Can't believe no one called us on that.
I can't either. The other thing is we had a whole bunch of people making remarks that we need fact checkers.
No, we don't.
And people were upset. We didn't know scores, rattling off records of high school teams. We had no idea what they did during the week. And then you had Notre Dame, Ohio State playing on Monday after they just played on Friday. I mean, it was not a good show for us last week. But they can take those fact checkers and shove them up there.
Yeah, exactly.
This is who we are.
Exactly.
If you want accurate totals and accurate records and scores, find another podcast.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing is just kind of make it up as we go. But yeah, so the playoff game will be tomorrow night, Notre Dame and Ohio State. And the one thing I do like, I think it's starting earlier than it normally does.
Yeah, thank God.
But let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we are both going to pull hard for Notre Dame. One, because you have a bet with them to win it, and then the other is our disdain for Ohio State and Ryan Day and all that nonsense. But what's your take on this game tomorrow night?
Do I hedge my bet? Throw a little on Ohio State? Because I put just a random 10 and threw a flyer on Notre Dame to win the whole thing, like you said. So I think I'll get 125 or whatever if they can pull that off. It's 8.5. I saw it did drop. It was 9.5 at one point.
It was? Okay.
It's at 8.5 the last I looked. Ohio State's a favorite. I think the first half of that first quarter is going to be critical. Like Notre Dame, what they do defensively on Ohio State's first couple possessions, I think will be big. Just to get them settled in. You can't have Ohio State come out there and just punch you in the face right away and make big plays with their receivers through the air. And next thing you know, it's 7-3, and then it's 14-3, and all of a sudden now Notre Dame is out of their routine.
Right.
So I think that first part of the first quarter is going to be huge for the Irish to see if they can control them and get Notre Dame or get Ohio State into that little fist fight, which is what they probably want to do. And then the quarterback, I think the quarterback play is going to be huge. If they can get into the Ohio State's quarterback's face a little bit and make a mistake like Michigan did, they get tighter and tighter, and maybe he makes a mistake, and then the other side of it, Riley Leonard's going to have to play well. He does it with his legs, runs the ball well, but he's going to have to make some big play through the air. I think for Notre Dame to have a shot, but so I'm looking forward to it. But I think it's probably going to be that 27 to 20 type game is what I'm thinking, with Ohio State winning. That's where I'm looking. I just think they got too many weapons, So the Irish are going to have to hope for mistakes in special teams. If they can get some things done special teams wise, that'll help as well. So
I think Notre Dame's got to take the ball, and they got to make sure that they're running the play clock, and their passing attack is play action on run downs and stuff. I don't think Riley Leonard is going to drop back and throw it 30 times against Ohio State. I think they got to control the clock, try and move the chains, keep that fist fight going. And I think if Notre Dame's going to win that, they have success on the ground, time of possession, and they win a 14-13 game. Or if they can't do that, Ohio State has the possibility of just blowing them out. And if your boy Ryan Day gets his chance, he's going to make that a 50-6 game and try to hide the fact that he still lost to Michigan.
I'm going to look at this spread real quick. The over-under on that is, take a guess. It's 8.5 is the spread right now. If you had to throw a number out there.
If I were to set that spread, I would set it at about 38, but I bet you it's like 50.
Okay, you're right in between. So it's at 45.5.
I think that's too many points if Notre Dame is competitive with them. It could be, like I said, Ohio State has the ability to get Notre Dame behind the chains, get the ball, and score quickly on them, whereas I think Notre Dame has to milk that clock. So if Notre Dame is in that one, that under is in play big time, I think.
Yeah, I haven't made any. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on it yet, but 45.5 to me does seem a little high in that game. And again, especially that first quarter's got to be a 3-3 type thing, something like that.
Yeah,
Notre Dame would love that, right?
What's the over under in the first quarter? I bet. I mean, that
yeah.
probably could be 0.5 or 1 point, whatever they set that at. But nonetheless, take this college football playoff for what it's worth. There's it was better. It did make you watch a lot more games. There's obviously some bugs they got to work out with the seeding and if they add teams and stuff like that. But it sure makes it fun to watch a national championship game on Monday night. After going through a tournament, these teams are somewhat battle tested.
Yeah, for sure.
How about the NFL? We're taping this Sunday morning. 2 games yesterday. You had the Chiefs with the victory over the Texans, and then the Detroit Lions did not play well last night.
Yeah, you didn't get to watch that first game, eh? It was right there. See that?
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway,
and actually, I didn't watch the end of the second game. I fell asleep in the chair, and but the Lions were down significantly when I fell asleep.
Yeah, Kansas City, I don't think played very well, and maybe Houston deserves some credit there. They hung around in that game. Now I just listened to talk radio on the way here, and everybody babbling again and bitching about the officials and the Chiefs get every call, and Mahomes must have had a couple sketchy little slides.
Well, I did see that. And
I know there was two. Was there 2 15-yarders?
It annoys the crap out of me because we talked about this with the whole slide thing. Mahomes, he's all weaseling around in there, and he's not going down. So everybody's bearing down on him, right? So if he doesn't slide early, what are those guys supposed to do? So then at the last second, he ducks down on the ground, and actually the 2 Houston guys hit each other on top of him. Yeah. And of course, he's the...
It's impossible. It's annoying. Well, but he's making it... I mean, it's tough enough with anybody, but Mahomes has taken that to another level with him screwing around and
he's taking advantage of the rule, and they're bailing him out. At some point, let somebody take a shot at him.
You can't... Somehow they got to do something with this. I mean, I get the stuff with the quarterbacks in the pocket, right? Protect them in there, but when they're allowed and they take off, and Christ, these guys are athletes. Forget Mahomes. I mean, whatever he runs, he's not like he's lightning down the field. But Lamar Jackson and those guys we're going to see tonight.
Yeah.
That's Christ. They're running 4.4s or whatever they are, and these defenders. I mean, they're flying at these quarterbacks, and they got to make that split decision right now on what they're going to do and where they're supposed to hit them and how they're supposed to hit them and shoulders and this and that. It is tough, and they got to do something with that rule.
Well,
because it's annoying actually.
And we talked about this a few weeks back, and Mahomes is the worst of them because he runs around, and then he slows down like he's going to slide, and then he takes off for 10 more yards.
Yeah, and the sidelines too.
Exactly.
He plays that little game.
And then the defense gets bitched at because he got the extra yards. So like the one I saw last night, he's weaving in and out of people, and he's not going downfield. He's just weaving around, and those guys are bearing down on him. At that point, he chose not to go down till the last second. I think he gets what he deserves.
Yeah.
And then, the other side of it, we'll get to the Lion game here in a little bit, but when Goff threw the pick in the first half, do you see what the shot he took?
Oh, yeah.
He ended up in the concussion blue tent
Yeah.
because of that, and there was no flag. So I'm not one for whining about people getting calls and stuff, but it's tough to argue with the Chiefs stuff because in Mahomes' something's got to change there.
Yeah.
Because basically, here's what's going to happen. I'm forecasting the future. He's going to be running, and he's going to start to slide, and some guy's like, I'm going to get 15 yards anyway. I'm going to put my helmet in his face. At that point, if anything you do to him, you're going to get 15 yards. I think somebody's just going to say, I'll take the 15 yards, and I'm going to lay the wood to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. I don't know what the answer is, but it's almost like they got to turn it the free game if they start running down the field. I mean, that'll never happen, but it's certainly annoying. But Houston, I don't want to hear Houston. The refs cost them this game. That's a bunch of garbage. They got sacked 8 times. They missed, I think, 2 field goals and a PAT.
Yeah.
The Chiefs they're so clutch though when it comes down to it. I mean, they make plays when they have to. They won ugly yesterday. They had a lot of time off. Obviously, a little bit rusty maybe to start the game, but Kelsey had a huge game.
I saw some clips of his girlfriend and
yeah, Caitlin Clark's up there.
box.
How about that?
Making 15-year-old girls watch a Chiefs game so they can get clips of those two in the box.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I like looking at those two. What the hell?
Did you see the Texan guy shove the coach apparently right after the beginning? I did not see
I
this.
didn't either. It was on the radio. We were going over to have birthday dinner there for Jen. But
oh yeah, happy birthday to the other half of the power couple.
Yeah. Went to the zone.
Hope you spoiled her. You guys, so you bought her a free dinner?
Yes.
Boy, she should count her blessings every day.
And I had a BLT. But I did not see that.
Was that on the kids' menu?
I didn't see it. I just heard the announcers hollering about it when it was on the truck radio on the way over there. So I'm not sure what the hell went down there, but it didn't sound like a good way to start the game.
Yeah, I just heard about it. I have not seen anything on it, nor have I looked for it. But and then the Lions, there's got to. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was actually rooting for the Lions. I mean,
so was I. Both of us got back last night, and we went upstairs to the upper deck lounge and had it on. And if I had a Lions shirt on, I would have put it on. I was ready to cheer that crew on all the way through the playoffs this year. I did not see that coming. I did not see it coming. I thought the Skins, holy Christ, the Commanders would score, but I didn't think they would be able to do what they did offensively. And Tom Brady kept mentioning. I want to ask you about this. He kept mentioning how they're really running a triple option. And, the RPOs are a big part of football from high school all the way up now, right?
Right.
And Jaden Daniels is, he's reading a certain defender, whether to pull it or pull it or give it. Which right there, it's not a run pass, it's a run option, correct? So Brady's talking about the fact that now that they've got Kelsey in the flats, not Kelsey, Zach Ertz, his tight end in the flats, has a receiver on that, so he's got the run pass option on all three. But I don't know if that was the case because I watch a lot of those plays and most of those receivers are blocking instantly as if it's a run situation. Are they actually doing that where that's a run and then a third option is to pull that and then make that pass?
I think so.
Consistently?
Yeah, and I've seen this. I actually tried to toy around with it, but obviously I don't have the patience for that when I was coaching in high school. But, it's the whole zone read thing. where you put that defensive end, that edge rusher in limbo, right? So if he comes down on the run, he is now going to replace him and run basically into your alley, which now puts like your second level defender. So is he going to play the run? If he comes up and plays the run, they'll throw that little dump pass out to the receiver, and if he keeps covering, then he would run it.
And those are probably one receiver routes, right? It didn't seem to me like there was 2 or 3 receivers running routes on that.
I think they're probably clearing them out, probably trying to clear them out and get that one secondary defender, whether it be an outside linebacker, strong safety, something, where they now have to get into the run fit if the quarterback keeps it, which obviously you got to be aware of with Jaden Daniels. And they put that, instead of just putting that defensive end in conflict, now putting both of them in there, which again are 2 guys that you don't have to block.
Right.
So I can see it. I did not watch it that closely, like I said. By the time I got home last night, I watched a little bit of it and was falling asleep in my chair.
I feel bad for the Lions fans. I mean, man, oh man, it was right there for the taking. They had it set up. The big wins they had in the final couple of weeks of the regular season, sealing the deal for them to be at home. And then the Catman and Painkiller were at the game.
They were?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they flew at Iron Mountain, went down. They had those seats that we had a couple of years ago through electronics, but god dang it. You can't turn the ball over like that. 5 turnovers.
Jared Goff picked a bad time to have a bad night. The fumble, I think they were down ready to score when he fumbled the ball.
Yeah, the strip fumble.
And then the interception return for the touchdown, you could just feel the wheels coming off back to...
And I want to say that strip fumble, it was like 3rd and 1 even. I think they were... I don't want to... I'm not for sure on that, but I think it was a play, like if you look back at it, let's just get Gibbs the ball. I mean, he was rolling last night.
He was.
And I thought they got a little jumpy. I just thought they got a little bit jumpy when they fell behind by 10. I think Johnson could have just stuck with trusting those big guys up front and keep working Gibbs and Montgomery a little bit. And, all of a sudden they got some trick plays going on and one worked for them. But I think maybe Ben Johnson's impatient and like I said, a little jumpy with his play calling wore off on Goff because he forced some balls downfield that didn't need to be thrown at that time, and next thing you know, Washington's taking advantage of every one of those, and then Aaron Glenn on the other side, he can't be happy with his. They just look clueless on that.
They did. Against
that stuff. I mean, they ran the ball at will up and down that field, and then when he wanted to throw, man, he threw some darts, didn't he?
He did.
That kid that's my biggest take is Christ, Washington's in our division, and we got to deal with this guy now for how many years? He's freaking good.
I know he is. I do like the way he plays.
And just so calm, sitting on a bench in that atmosphere on the sidelines, just relaxed, no expression on his face, just as calm as can be, and then go back in there and light him up again down the field. So he's a little concern, and Dan Quinn, obviously our Cowboys coordinator last year, now is heading to the NFC Championship game with Washington. It's unbelievable. Feel bad for the Lions.
Well, we're Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, what did they do last week?
Well, that's the other thing.
And I can't, that drives me nuts.
And it's not their fault.
It's not, you can't hate the player, you gotta hate the game or something like that, what the old saying. But there's no way you can tell me that those guys were not distracted from the task at hand based on trying to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, there's stuff all over Twitter, Lions fans are bitching about that, and maybe a little more time focusing on game planning for this game, a little less time interviewing for your potential head coaching jobs. I wish the NFL could change that somehow. I mean, it's just...
Well, they can. The Lions just tell Ben Johnson, we're going to add $1 million to your salary, why don't you just stay here?
Yeah. We should get into a little bit of chat on that too, on these coaches. I mean, Chicago's they just interviewed Eddie George. I don't even know where the hell he's coaching.
Is he?
I don't know. I mean, the Bears have how many people have they interviewed?
Well, they haven't interviewed you or I yet.
No, yet.
Exactly.
There's still 6 teams.
I thought Pete Carroll wanted that job.
Yeah, well, I think was it that one right away? Or
yeah, it was. I think it was.
I haven't heard much about him, but there's still 6 openings.
So the Bears are gonna interview everybody under the sun, and they're going to be right back where they were last year. They're going to find some flavor of the month that looks fancy. Get somebody in there that's a leader. Like I said, I'm not a huge Pete Carroll fan, but he can run a program.
A leader of men.
And he knows how to cheat.
We talked about this the other night. You know, these guys, these coordinators getting these jobs, it's not because Ben Johnson is your new head coach does not mean that you're going to be the greatest offensive team since the Rams years ago or whatever, right?
The greatest show on
turf. I don't trust these. I don't trust these coaches. I don't know why. Everybody, that's the new flavor of the month, right? Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, all these other coordinators, Cliff Kingsbury. I want a head coach, and get those coordinators in. I want a guy that can lead. I always mention Harbaugh, right?
Yep.
There's a leader of men. Pete Carroll, this Dan Quinn. He's proving it, right? He had all that success with Seattle for all those years. Where was he? Where was Quinn? Atlanta. Atlanta. I think he was the Seattle's D coordinator under.
Yes.
What's his face years ago? Tomlin's probably one of those guys. John Harbaugh.
I could even see the Bears hiring McCarthy. I think McCarthy would have that a little bit.
I think he qualifies as that.
I can't see McCarthy taking that. I mean, the other thing you got to take into consideration is you're the Bears, and you have this quarterback, which is fine and dandy, but you got 6 games with the Packers, Lions, and Vikings right now too. That's not an easy road.
Right.
So I don't know what the Bears are doing.
Kellen Moore, he's going to interview for Dallas, where he already has. Again, he's coaching this afternoon too, the old coordinator with Philly. I like Kellen Moore. I thought he did a hell of a job as Dallas' offensive coordinator. He's got familiarity with that organization. But I don't know if I want him as our head coach. Like, he doesn't strike me as that leader of men.
Exactly.
To come in there. Maybe he will be. I mean, and I guess that's the progression of some of these guys. You do the job as an assistant, as a coordinator, then you get your opportunity to be a head coach. So there's nothing wrong with that, but to me, that's not where I'm looking for the Dallas job. And you know where I'm looking?
If you say Dion, you're out of here. You think he would
I think he's the only option. I think he's the only option in Dallas. I changed my tone a little bit with him this year because we both kind of laughed at Colorado at the beginning of the year. And they won some football games.
He actually did a pretty good job there.
But there's a guy, now, I don't know, going into the Dallas circus, nothing's going to be bigger than him, right? He's not going to walk in there and be intimidated by Jerry Jones, or like Dion is going to bring the circus with him. And that's what Jerry wants. But I don't know if he can handle the fact that Dion's got that personality that might blow Jerry Jones away.
Right.
And he knows the situation there. So if he was to be the hire, is Dion that leader of men? Can he go in there and do that? And who's gonna be the assistant coaches there?
Well,
who's gonna be his coordinators?
How about you bring back Kellen Moore? Right?
Yeah, but would he do that? Is that would he bounce from Philly back to Dallas?
But again, there is something to be said about the family of the Cowboys, right? Most of those guys are pretty loyal to Jerry. For as much as we rip on him, you listen to a lot of those old guys, not old guys, the guys our age, they talk that, they loved it there. So do you is that your transition? Get Kellen Moore to coordinate your offense, let Dion coach there? And I mean, is Dion going to be a long-term NFL coach, do you think?
I don't know. Do you think he's going to be a long-term college coach? I mean, he's saying all this stuff about Colorado. Is that where you picture Dion?
I don't know. But can you bring Dion in for a year, 2 years, and then transition to Kellen Moore? Well, I'd be on board with that.
The one I heard, which I thought was interesting, the so-called heir apparent that's going to be probably on the Cowboys staff this year at some level. I'm not, where he's going to be, I don't know. But right now, he's already won 2 state titles in high school in Texas.
Jason Witten.
There's a leader of men, right? Mm-hmm. I keep using that term, but
you're not wrong.
I heard that during the week. That's the guy that I think Jerry wants involved in that organization, and you can't jump from high school to a head coach. You got to do some coaching in the NFL, and I wouldn't doubt one bit to see him on the sidelines in some capacity with the Cowboys this year.
But and again, we beat this horse to death last week as well, but. There's not a lot of guys that come as coordinators and are doing well. LaFleur at Green Bay, I think, is a little bit of an exception, but at the same time, he has a very solid organization around him, right? I mean, you look over the years, draft, what they do, like there's a foundation there where he can come in and be successful. He's got complete support from the whole organization. But there's been so many, again, I go back to Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
How many times? Yeah, exactly. He's a coordinator.
All right. So anyway, we got some games today. We'll have the semis for next week. Looking forward to a little Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening games, and Monday night championship game on college football championship game Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's games. The first one. I'm going to look at what's your thoughts on that Philly Ram game real quick. It's a 6-point spread. Like over under is 43.5. I think that's going to be a low scoring game.
I think Philadelphia. I would take Philadelphia. I think the Rams played pretty well last week, but Philadelphia's front four can just get after you, where you don't have to bring extra pressure. And Stafford has played well. I would think he's probably going to get picked off today. I would think the Eagles win that game in 21-14, 21-17 type of game.
Yeah, I might take the under in that. It's 43.5, and I can see that being a 10-7 at halftime type thing.
Because I think if Philly gets up on them, they get up a score, 2 scores, I think you're going to see Saquon with about 35 carries today. And they're not going to put the ball in the air, shorten that game, keep Stafford off the field.
Right. Yeah, it's I sure like watching Stafford and Puka Nacua. That receiver is a tough kid.
He is. He sure is.
He finds a way to get open and just makes every catch. And tonight should be a blast. I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. It's a legacy game for both of them. Kind of, Lamar Jackson. His issue has been not playing well in these bigger playoff games, making the mistakes. So can he get through it tonight on the road? And then the other guy, Josh Allen. He's put up big numbers, but hasn't gotten the wins. So it's going to be interesting as hell in Buffalo. But I think the factor there, the underlying factor that's going to turn that game toward the Ravens is Derrick Henry. They haven't had him before, and that guy's just a beast. I think that combo is going to be just a little better than what Buffalo has, and not easy on the road there, I know, but it's a 1-point spread. I think Baltimore's a 1-point favorite.
They're favored by 1. I kind of figured that would be pretty even.
So I'm looking for the Ravens to get a win there tonight, but
it has the makings for a great game.
Oh hell yeah!
But I think I saw is Flowers out.
Zay Flowers is doubtful.
Doubtful.
And that was listed last night. John Harbaugh said there's a chance, but doubtful means to me he hadn't practiced really all week either. So
I think you're going to see a big dose of Derrick Henry, and I think you're going to see Lamar carry the ball a few times as well on design quarterback runs, just to keep that defense on their toes, and then the tight ends for Baltimore are good, nice possession receivers for them as well. So, exciting times. You want to talk a little college hoops?
Well, we can hit on a couple things here. I think the first is we got to watch the Parkside Rangers against Michigan Tech a number of weeks back. That was November, I think, right? Probably the latter part of November.
Yeah, I was we were talking about this. I was talking with Ray yesterday at the Tech, and I told him about when you took Coach Regal to the B.
Yeah,
Did we mention that comment on here or not?
I don't know.
Because when Parkside played up at Michigan Tech, they looked awful. Tech played phenomenal and put the boots to them. Coach Regal happened to stay over, and you had some encounter. Do we share that story?
You can.
Well, why don't you tell it? I wasn't even there.
Well, it was just, it was just the fact that Parkside was not in a good situation at that time. They had some guys just coming back from injuries, and they did not play well. They played a little better against Northern the next night, but they got thumped. I mean, it was pretty ugly, and Coach Regal was pretty down, and at that point, he's like, I don't know how we're going to win another game in this conference, throughout the rest of the year. We went over to the B&B just to relax a little bit afterwards, and guy comes up and starts talking and says, oh, Parkside, he was, we played tonight, are you the men's coach or the women's coach? And I quickly replied, I said, he's the men's coach, but his team played like, I shouldn't say that, but
yeah.
That was, it was just one of those situations where we got together and I didn't know where they were going to go with the rest of that season, but holy moly.
They had a good week.
Have they turned it around?
They had a week. So it started Thursday night with one of the top teams in the country, the Fair State Bulldogs, came to Luke Regal Gymnasium, Did we rename that yet? And Fair State walked away with a loss. I think that was their first loss in the conference.
Yeah, they were fourth in the country. Parkside beat them on Thursday, and then followed up with another ranked team with Lake State, right?
So Lake State came into Luke Riegel Gymnasium and came out with a W as well. So that's a big week for Coach Luke Riegel.
Yeah, it's.
I bet you he wants to go back to the B&B with you and have that same conversation and say, we just knocked off 2 teams in the top of the country.
He certainly did a hell of a job getting these guys to improve, and I'm not sure health-wise what they've gotten back since we saw them last time, but whatever. I mean, it's credit to him and credit to that team. They're playing pretty well, and hopefully they can keep rolling and make some noise in the conference. The Huskies, they, let's see, what'd they do? They won Thursday.
I watched both games. Yesterday I was in and out, but Thursday...
Tomaszek had to hit a shot.
Yeah, Thursday they played Saginaw.
Mm-hmm.
And Saginaw's been down. Saginaw played extremely well, and Tomaszek had to hit a shot literally at the buzzer to win that game. And then yesterday they had a little tussle with Wayne State as well. Tomaszek had another huge game, and probably the highlight of the day yesterday was I got to see Leroy Puskinen at the game.
Did you?
I did. I saw the big Pusk.
All right. I saw him shoveling his garage roof the other day.
He wasn't up on top.
Oh yeah, he was up there. Actually, it was I think the neighbor's garage roof there, but he was up there.
The big Pusk shoveling roofs.
Yep.
Wow. Have you seen what happened? I know one of our friends sent us a little piece of information on Fordham basketball.
Well, I remember the text now when I saw this.
Do you know where Fordham is?
No.
I have no idea either. But they had a couple of interesting things happen this week.
Okay, let's hear it.
Their coach got suspended for 4 games. Did you see that?
Nope.
Because they spent too much money on recruiting. Don't we have the thing with the NIL where the kids are getting paid money? So I don't know all the details, but he got suspended. Self-reported. The school suspended him for spending too much money during recruiting visits. I don't know all the details. But they had a hell of a game with UMass this week. I think 3 overtimes. They lost 120 to 118 to the UMass. I think they're the Minutemen.
The Minutemen, yeah.
But the interesting thing, did you see how many free throws?
Give me the stat of the game. I want to hear this. This is something else.
This is a game. This is from a box score. In the game, Fordham and UMass were 85 of 122 from the free throw line. How long do you think that game was?
Can you imagine sitting through that? I mean, that had to just been awful. The amount of whistles. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I can't even fathom that. That's something else. Yeah, UMass. Who won the game? Fordham.
UMass won.
120
to 118.
Oh,
God. Couple random things here, Oj. We mentioned this the other day when we were hanging out about a cool picture you sent me.
Well, I don't know how cool it is.
Well, it's a unique picture from, and it was in black and white because it is very old.
Yeah, I'm a little tired of seeing that stuff too. We had colored pictures back in our day. Why is everything in black and white?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, it's not like we're from the 50s here, for Christ's sake.
Taking the pictures with the thing, that little gunpowder thing that blows up.
Yeah, well, Facebook has that. I don't even know who does it, but it's like turn back the clock, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a week, whatever they put. Somebody goes through all these old yearbook pictures, and I don't know who has them or how they even go about this, but it's just random old school Ewan-Trout Creek photographs. It's not all sports either. It can be, classroom pictures, whatever. Sometimes it's about, it's football, basketball, whatever. And they had cheerleading the other day, and there's some funny ones in there, by the way. But
poofy hair.
But yeah, they had our seniors from the basketball team, and we looked like a bunch of idiots the way we were standing.
This is true.
And I don't know what girl from the yearbook staff made us do that or came up with that idea.
You don't think it was Tony Micheletti who did it?
No.
Are you sure?
No. He was in it, but no, he had nothing to do with that. So it was our seniors just like standing on each other like we were
like a cheerleader.
Yeah, holding onto the rim. It was just awful. But that kind of made its way around a little bit, that picture. My cousin Robin, who has been just trying desperately to get a little bit of a plug on this podcast, is finally going to get one because she threw that out there on Facebook too, and found it on there. So thank you, cousin Robin, for firing that picture on so I can see that for the 3rd time. I'd love to know who the hell was in charge of that, but anyway, that was.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on because I think our listeners are now 10% dumber for hearing this story.
All right.
Tell me about the Dylan movie. I know we're getting long in the tooth here in this first part of the show, but I know you were really excited.
I gotta make chili today. I mean, we're at 11:30, below zero out there. I gotta put a chili together. The Dylan movie. I will just say this: I had high expectations going into it, and they exceeded it. And I will.
So you were impressed?
Yeah,
That's hard to do.
I will put this a notch above Walk the Line as far as music documentary, biopics, whatever you want to say. I put it ahead of that for two reasons, and it's the talent of those two actors. You know, the girl that played Joan Baez, and then Timothy Chalamet played Bob Dylan. It's amazing. I mean, he learned how to play the harmonica, guitar. Both of them learned how to play guitar. Their singing was just spot on. It was unbelievable. So the music part of it was great. If you're into that Bob Dylan type music and stuff like that, it was just based on, you know, the Walk the Line went from Johnny Cash's childhood a little bit into the service and so on. This just really covered about a 5-year span of Dylan leaving Minnesota. They didn't, you know, there was really nothing about Hibbing, Minnesota or anything. The first scene is him in a car, backseat of a cab or whatever, coming into New York and Greenwich Village and that folk scene, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And Edward Norton played Pete Seeger, who's like the folk father of folk music from back then, and then they even had a guy, and I thought this was cool, that was in this asylum out of New Jersey somewhere that played Woody Guthrie, who was a big influence on Dylan. They went, you know, a number of scenes with him in there, so I loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm glad I went to the theater with it too.
Popcorn update?
Yeah, it was. I got up and probably at least a cup of popcorn fell out of my jacket. It was in between I had that flannel on, and as I was walking, it was just trickling right down onto the floor. I put my glasses on later when I got home, and it's like somebody took, like just rubbed it in a cup of butter. It was just awful. So I had to spend some time with those. But I went through a full bucket. There was just kernels at the end. That was not a surprise. Totally dominated the popcorn competition again.
There you have it. The Dylan movie exceeded Oj's expectations, and popcorn didn't stand a chance.
Copper Country Sauna is the premier sauna builder in the Keweenaw, led by two brothers-in-law that share a passion for saunas and want to provide custom saunas to the Copper Country residents. When you are ready to throw some water on the rocks, visit our website at coppercountrysauna.com or give us a call at 906-281-9427. I'm debating on lighting the sauna today, but I don't know if I want to walk out there that many times to throw wood in there when it's below zero like this.
I was thinking the same thing. I don't think it's worth my time to try and get the garage one going. It'll take so long. It is so cold. Let's get an NAU hoops update. The Lumberjacks had a rough week last week in the state of Montana. At home this weekend, Thursday and Saturday, and they wound up splitting their games. On Thursday night, they came out and just obliterated Sacramento State. Jumped on them from the start, which we kind of expected would happen.
No let up. Played well all the way through. Biggest win of the year for them.
I think so. And then yesterday they played Portland State, and they dropped that game 80-69 at home. And I was kind of following it, and I listened to the recap, and apparently Portland State was not going to let Trent McLaughlin touch the ball. He finished with 7 points, 2 field goals. They just took him out of the game and made it tough for forced other guys to score. And he's obviously the leader of that team, leading scorer, and the ball, everything goes through him. So they had a tough one Saturday. The upcoming week there's going to be a tough one. They got road trips to Eastern Washington and Idaho, and those are two of the top teams. Those are good programs there. But that Big Sky Conference is tough. You see a lot of teams there's some jockeying going on right now, but any night anybody can beat anybody. And I'm sure Coach Burkhart will get those guys working and battle with these two teams this upcoming week. Yeah,
like we said, it just you hope that they can do the little things that they're not doing in some of these games and start improving on that, so they can put a string of wins together here and put them in a good position going into the end of the season tournament and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens with them going forward.
And Carson Tout is still pounding the boards. They can get 17 and 19, something like that. But let's hear what Coach Burkhart had to say after the win against Sacramento State. Oj, let's head back to Crouchy's Corner, and today we got an interview a little bit different here. We're gonna talk with somebody that you and I have been friends with for quite some time. You competed against him in high school a lot more than I did. I just played against him in football for a few years. He and I became really good friends in college, and still maintain a great friendship to this day. We're talking about David W. from the Shores no more. He doesn't live on the Shores any longer.
Yeah.
David Holmes out of Wakefield. He and I were in the same program in college. He was a teacher in Ironwood, then a teacher in Kingsford, and then got into the administrative that path, and is now the superintendent at Kingsford. And I always think that having a superintendent that is sports oriented can only be good for your district. He's working on some stuff there, but and you competed against him a lot more than I did. You guys played them in hoops and stuff over the years, but pretty much we've maintained a pretty good friendship over the years.
Yeah, it was good to talk to him. Glad he was able to do that for us, and like I said, it's he's been a mainstay with Kingsford for forever. He's gone through from teacher to different level administration, and now superintendent last number of years. So Wakefield roots again. So yeah, it was good. It was good to listen to him, and it was a great interview.
He's got a great wife, Jim, too, by the way. He's kind of like you. All right, let's hear what David Holmes has to say. Let's hit the mailbag, Oj. Not many questions in the mailbag, which is probably a good thing, because boy, we have been babbling on and on here for quite some time. Our listeners are probably losing whatever interest they did have.
Yeah.
But let's.
Plus, I got to make chili.
Are you gonna light the sauna? Let's hear from Jesse from Appleton. He's a huge Shane Burkhart fan. For anybody that does not know that, and he's kind of. I don't know if he's taking some digs at us, but he's got a couple of questions. He goes, I'm just wondering if you actually bet your pick 3 NFL picks that you do every Sunday and take too long and get annoying after a while. I know you do. I don't really do a whole lot with it, but...
Well, we've said this over and over. If people that do dabble in the gambling portion of sports, if they would pay attention to what we do pick, we do pretty damn well. Well over, like we said, it was both of us. We're making money, but I guess to answer his question, no. If it was just that simple, if I could just control my addiction to just betting on the games that we pick each week, I'd be sitting in probably a lot better shape than I am right now. But we don't, and as far as it taking too long and get annoying, I don't.
It kind of makes us happy that it annoys them.
Yeah, his opinion on that doesn't mean a pinch of shit to me. So.
And he goes, a push should not be counted as a win. That is utterly ridiculous to do that.
Yeah, I know, and I like that he said that, because it just makes me. I want that to be in your head a little bit when you're eating that dinner. Like, did I really win this game because he gave me some pushes? Did I really, really win? Do I actually deserve this dinner? When you're sitting there, having that bowl of soup. Did you actually earn it?
Hey, I went 8 for 9 down the stretch.
You did. That was impressive.
This isn't a 7-year-old soccer league where everyone wins and gets orange slices and Gatorade, but yeah.
What isn't?
The push.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get done with him. But we got somebody back. You want to take this one? We have not had this guy on the show in quite some time. Where's he been?
Oh, Garrett from Fairfield. Probably umping.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah, I think that guy might make it in the umping industry. But
is it really an industry?
I don't know what it is. What are some of the greatest lyrics from songs associated with Michigan / the Great Lakes? Kind of a good question.
I'm going to go first because my history of music is pretty much useless. But the ones that obviously you think like the Edmund Fitzgerald, but how about the Kid Rock song? Spent summertime in northern Michigan.
Yeah.
I think they filmed the video.
Is that all summer long?
Yes. I think they filmed part of that video at Pictured Rocks in Music.
Yeah, in the UP side, that's right.
And then the other one I got, which is going to take us back to a question you asked me last week. How about Journey, Don't Stop Believin'? You know the line?
I know the line.
Born and raised in South Detroit.
Detroit's mentioned a lot of them.
That's why I stayed out of the rest of them. But you asked me last week if there's any songs I slaughter with the lyrics.
That was one?
This is one. Instead of saying born and raised in South Detroit, I always said born and raised in South Bojack.
Those, by the way, speaking of Garrett from Fairfield and Cask and Flagon, they made some contact and said I was spot on with my song choice last week from their question. You know, I mentioned.
Hey, Big Puss was fired up about that too.
The one I picked.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what they had mentioned about screwing up the words, and I sang part of whatever that song was. I think it was by the.
I have no idea.
Well, it was on last week's episode. Wrapped up like a deuce.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know all the words anyway with it, but Detroit Rock City, right?
Yeah.
Kiss, that's huge. And as far as the Great Lakes, there's none better, and we probably should have had this on when the Gordon Lightfoot Classic of record of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
That's one, but it's a good question.
You could go through Bob Seger's,
yeah,
right?
We mentioned that. Where were you when you were 12 hours out of Mackinac City and stopped by a bar and had a brew?
Yeah.
So, good question. Good to hear from Garrett from Fairfield.
Yeah, welcome back, Garrett. Located 8 miles south of Lakeland on the Bojack Road, the Dreamline Restaurant's your choice for great dining. Family owned and operated for over 100 years. Whether you're in the mood for Mexican Monday specials, burgers, pizza, or Friday fish fry, Dreamline is your next stop. And out comes the Blue Notebook.
All right. So this week, I'm going down into the CCR basement, if you will. And this song isn't really well known as far as Creedence songs go. It's kind of a B-side overshadowed by some of their huge hits. So I'm not sure how many people will know it. But it's one of my favorites. The song was inspired. John Fogerty wrote this when I was, mentioned this when I was doing a little research on it. But he said when he was young, they were just married, 23 years old. You know, CCR had a few hits out. And he and his wife had their first child, and he was kind of stressed about just the pressure of having to continue songwriting and you know, keep the band going, right? There's a lot of pressure on them. They've made it a little bit, but you know, they want to keep making it. So a lot of his time was spent into trying to push these songs out and write stuff. And his wife and him were kind of clashing a little bit because she wanted a little more time spent with the new family and the child and stuff like that. So that's where the idea of this came from. And Fogerty kind of said that, you know, the beauty of the song is that it can mean something different to everyone, and that's what makes it cool. So in the chorus he writes how he wrote a song for everyone, wrote a song for truth, wrote a song for everyone, but I couldn't even talk to you, meaning his wife, you know, at the time. So I think it's a cool song. It's one of my favorites, a little known CCR song, like I said, kind of from the basement. So hope you enjoy. I wrote a song for everyone by Creedence Clearwater Revival and John Fogerty. Listen to the Lyrics was brought to you by Keweenaw Auto Body, located on Pine Street in Calumet. They're your choice for quality collision and body repair since 1966. They are open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and 8 to 12 on Saturday. Give them a call at 906-337-1203. Sounds like our boys at Keweenaw Auto Body took care of you a little bit too, huh?
Yeah, like you notice, I got my vehicle returned. They did a fantastic job. Great to deal with. Anybody that needs some work done in their car, get a hold of them. All those people up there were awesome.
I like to see you drive that little spare around too, that little loaner. That was
the death trap. You should have saw me trying to get up the hill to get the tech. Twice I tried to get up a hill and I had to back into a driveway because I wouldn't go up the hill. But yeah, they did a great job. Get out there and have those guys fix any of your auto problems. Next week, Oj, we'll have a big interview on Crouchy's Corner. A lot of our fans are going to really enjoy this one. Somebody that is associated with the UP football tech, and then just an unreal personality.
I'm looking forward to it.
You were there.
Was I?
Yeah. Yeah, you were there. And actually, I'm going to send out a little teaser on social media about midweek with one of the one-liners that he gave to us. But send us emails, crouchyoj@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram. I think the TikTok thing is done. Are we done with TikTok now? Is that banned?
Yeah, it's banned. I have no idea.
I don't either.
I couldn't care less, to tell you the truth, but whatever.
Although I did waste 45 minutes on the bus the other day with those lists, and I know I sent a bunch of them to you. Those ate up some time, but yeah, big week coming up next week. We got a great interview you're gonna love next week. Got some bad weather rolling in here, so you and I may be stuck not at home without the children, going to school this week with these frigid temperatures. But
we'll be keeping an eye on things here. UpperMichiganSource.com.
Hoping we get a text tonight rather than at 5:25 in the morning.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It sure would. It sure would.
Plus, it really affects my Sunday when I know what's going on Monday.
See you, Oj.
Talk to you later, Crouchy.